Hello and welcome back to Beers with Buds. I'm your host, Andrew Friedman, the cannabis sommelier. Today I'm joined by my bud, Chef Alex Edmonson. Thanks for being here, Chef. How are you today?
Thanks, I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for the fantastic lunch. That sandwich was incredible. It's really all I can taste right now. Why don't you just talk a little bit about yourself, because that's what I love people to do.
Yeah, sure. So I'm a private chef here in Calgary. I do mostly just dinner parties. It's more fine dining, I'd say. 5 courses is typically what I do. 6 to 8 people, really intimate, so people don't have to go downtown or get a babysitter. A lot of clients have kids, so they put the kids to bed and they'll have this really intimate dinner in their own house, and it's really cool. It's
That's crazy. How'd you get into being a private chef? So you went to culinary school?
Yeah, I went to SAIT here in Calgary.
Awesome.
And then out of SAIT I went to Australia to do my apprenticeship.
Very cool.
And then from Australia, I went to Copenhagen. I did a little stage at Noma.
Wow, really? You worked at Noma?
I did, yes.
For everybody that doesn't know, that was like the world's #1 restaurant so many years in a row.
Yeah, it was very interesting.
Fuck, you're way cooler than I thought. That's awesome.
Saw some pretty wild stuff there. I saw a few chefs get punched in the face for letting a draft in. I saw wild moose everywhere. Went foraging. The rangers were chasing us, and Rene himself made us drop everything that we were foraging and told us to run as fast as we could because what we were doing was totally illegal.
Yes.
It was great, yeah.
These are the stories you don't get to hear. Subscribe to Beers with Buds because you just got the inside info. That is so cool. What an epic story.
Yeah, it's cool.
I wish I had ever heard that story. That is an incredible story. So from there, you came back to Canada and ended up as a private chef, or did you work anywhere else after Noma?
No, after I came back from Noma, I worked at Charcut for a while.
Awesome.
I was there for maybe 3 years, and then I opened up Market. With the team.
Very cool.
And then after that, I kind of went to traveling again. Went to San Francisco. Staged at another place called Atelier Kren.
Okay.
The chef there, her name was Dominique Kren. She's the first Michelin-starred chef in the States to receive 3 Michelin stars. She just received it not too long ago.
Wow.
Yeah. And after that little stint, got a couple tattoos down there, came back up, and worked in the restaurant industry for a couple more years, and then it was just killing me. I was working 90 hours a week. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I gotta take care of myself. I had liver failure. I was in the hospital for a bit, and I became a private chef just to transition out of the industry.
Amazing. Get out of that whole world of what the kitchen is.
Yeah, it's quite toxic, actually.
I bet. I know Anthony Bourdain writes about it. One of my favorite ways in Kitchen Confidential. It's a crazy hard world that is filled with super passionate people and people that could care less about being there and are just trying to make a paycheck.
Yeah.
And that balance is incredible, especially you as like a Michelin star trained chef. That's so cool. I don't know many Calgary chefs that have worked in restaurants of that caliber before. Now it all makes sense to me why your plating is so precise, unique, and beautiful. If you don't follow Chef on Instagram, tell everybody your Instagram right now.
My Instagram handle is just my name, so it's Alex Edmonson. Edmonson spelled Edmonson.
Yeah, and it's beautiful. The plates he puts out are just incredible, and now it's all starting to make a lot more sense to me because I haven't gotten all that background. So that's fantastic. So you ended up in the private chef world. How many years has that been with being a private chef?
It'll be 3 years in February, actually.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so maybe on an entrepreneurial level, how was the first year compared to this year?
Well, as with any entrepreneurial venture, the first year was really rough. First 9 months, I had 2 clients the whole first 9 months.
Wow. They must have paid a huge amount. I'm just kidding.
Luckily, I had a bit saved, and I had to move back in with my parents, unfortunately.
No, that's okay. Gary Vaynerchuk is pitching that hard. Move back in with your parents, build your business.
You got to do what you got to do. And luckily, I'm not living with my parents anymore. I'm able to sustain and own my own place. And
congrats. That's
yeah,
awesome.
this year's pretty good. We had 30% more income than last year, or revenue, I should say.
Wow.
Things are good.
That's awesome to hear that the business is building. And where's the main point of success? Do you use social media for advertising, or how are you actually acclimating your customer base right now?
That's a good question. I would say it's probably 80% word of mouth.
Okay, wow.
And then I have a pretty good Instagram following. And I'd probably say 10% of that's from Instagram.
Okay, which is fantastic because that's a great ROI from Instagram.
Pretty good.
You got an awesome 25,000 followers. That's pretty cool for
thanks.
kid from Calgary. That makes me super excited. So when you cook for people, how many people are usually cooking for? Is it will you do any size party? Is it more so just a couple or a double date hosted at somebody's house, or what's the usual atmosphere?
I don't do couples very often. I will do them, but I have a minimum charge just because it's the same amount of work to prep for 2 people as for 6.
Totally.
So the average I'd say is probably 6 to 8, a couple 10s and 12s here and there. The biggest one I've ever done is 20 plated.
Awesome.
But if it's finger foods or canapes, I can do up to 100.
Wow, awesome. So we're definitely gonna have to do canapes at one of these huge cannabis parties that I'm thinking about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because we got to do is find a venue and we're set.
That's the hardest part.
That is the hardest part. I go other places and there are these huge cities, Vancouver, Chicago, LA, and there's so much infrastructure that isn't here. There's so many places that are literally just an open building with a kitchen in it, and it's like, oh yeah, somebody did this years ago, but this is absolutely perfect for a pop-up party. I wish there was just more of that here in Calgary, so I think I'm gonna have to take you traveling with me at some point.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Because you're doing some cool stuff, and maybe tell me a little bit more about your liver thing, because I felt bad. I opened some wine. We were doing beers with buds, and I don't drink that much, but I was like, it's really low alcohol Riesling, so just have a taste. But cannabis consumption must have been a much bigger part of your world after finding out that drinking couldn't really be a big part. And I know both have been always interlaced in kitchen culture.
Totally.
Very deeply. Like, I don't know a chef who doesn't consume cannabis, or, well, at least once a year. So yeah, maybe tell me about that.
Yeah, so after I got my liver failure, just working so much, just complete body meltdown, basically. I was out of the hospital, and, well, actually, let me tell you about my first edibles experience, and that please. Will kind of be the backstory for this. So a few buddies of mine had their brother make some cookies. Mm-hmm. First time I'd ever even had a cannabis cookie or anything like that.
How old were you?
I was 23.
Had you ever smoked cannabis before it?
I tried it once.
Okay.
Once or twice, and I kind of enjoyed it. Was still pretty unfamiliar with it though. And the edibles really appealed to me because I didn't have to smoke it, didn't have to affect my lungs or any way. Mm-hmm. And so we're eating it, and then my buddies are like, do you want to smoke a bowl while we're waiting for it to kick in? Because it takes about an hour and a half to kick in.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, sure. And then each bowl we're putting keef on top.
Okay.
And then, so we're getting like pretty buzzed off these bowls, and then come back in, there's nothing to eat. Then we see these cookies, and we're like, oh, yeah, we'll have another cookie. And we kind of just rinsed and repeat that. I ended up having 7 cookies.
Awesome.
Unknown dose.
Yeah.
And edibles, if you don't know, are extremely psychedelic at a high dose. Almost like, I compare them to magic mushrooms, I guess.
Totally. I'll tell you about my first psychedelic experience with edibles I had last week, but keep going.
And yeah, I started seeing things in like extreme vivid colors. Things were moving.
Well, and your liver isn't functioning at full, and everything's being processed through there as well.
Exactly, yeah. And I look at the clock, and while this is happening, it had only been about 5 minutes after eating the 7th cookie, because the first 2 probably were kicking in at this point.
Yeah.
And I'm standing over a heated vent, and I could feel the energy of the vent, like making my body kind of rock back and forth.
Awesome.
It was a wild experience, and I was eating a piece of pizza, and I would eat a bite, and I would chew it for what felt like 10 minutes, look away, realize I still had pizza in my hand, and freak out. Oh my God, I still have pizza in my hand, and I start eating it. And it was just like, it was a very positive experience. And then I got to the point where the paranoia set in.
Okay.
Started thinking my throat was closing because I burned it from smoking. And I kept telling myself, no one's ever died from weed. No one's ever died from weed. And then I went to bed, woke up the next morning, and I felt amazing. The best I'd felt in years.
Yes, I love it. I was just chatting with my buddy Dave, and Curtis Clover does a song, Moving On Up, and the second line is, bite your lip and take the trip.
Right, yeah.
And I think that applies to everything, business, life, cannabis. That's incredible. You knew that there was nothing that was going to go wrong, and you woke up feeling renewed. And maybe that sense of paranoia gave you a different relaxation in your everyday life when you weren't
Totally
having a psychedelic experience on cannabis.
It made me really grateful to just be sober again.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Like, wow, I'm alive. This is great.
I think that's what a lot of people get with a megadose of LSD or mushrooms as well.
I'm
It's
sure
like
it's similar.
you go through such an intense moment of stress, panic, anxiety, and then you quickly realize that it's all okay and there's absolutely nothing going wrong, and my everyday life is pretty awesome because it doesn't feel like this constantly. And maybe that's one of the parts that people don't understand about having a psychedelic experience, is that it comes with other feelings, but that renewed energy afterwards is pretty amazing.
It was like waking up to almost a new life, which is crazy. I never thought cannabis could even do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I got to get my medical card because I just feel so good. And then I started doing more research, and I came across CBD, which I started taking for my liver for the inflammation, and it really helped. It was amazing. I started having less stomach pains, my brain fog went away, all these things that are related to inflammation, and I can't speak highly enough about it still to this day, 3 years later.
What kind of dose of CBD are you taking?
I take about 35 milligrams per day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Before you leave, I want to give you like 250.
Okay, cool.
Because the only time I've ever... So science, I'm doing air quotes for everybody that can't see me, says that it's 10 to 15 milligrams per kilogram of body weight for CBD to be medicinally effective.
Really?
So I would love to see, just as an experiment, because it's not going to be a psychoactive experience, if you feel even better.
I'd be down to try, yeah.
Yeah, because I drank 1,000 milligrams of CBD once. I was like, oh, CBD is a hoax. And then I did 1,000 milligrams of this Papa and Barclays, which is a very high-end one in California. I got on a plane, and I had never felt so good in my life. It was...
really enjoy CBD. And I think at this point, it's an accumulation because I take it every day.
Right now, it's in your system.
Yeah, and I think that's why I can take such a low dose over so many years now.
Right, because it's been 3 years of constantly... and you're not taking a microdose. It's 30 milligrams. That's a good sized dose. Where you're purchasing that through the LP, or you get it somewhere else?
Yeah, so I actually get it through Hydropothecary.
Okay.
I use their decarbed CBD, so I'm eating the whole plant.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Have you ever considered growing your own? Do you have a space that you could do that?
Probably couldn't. I just don't know how the smell would be with my house.
Technology is great now. You can get self-contained grow units. You could have your 4 plants that you don't even need your medicinal license for, and you would never notice it unless you opened the chest.
Well, I love growing vegetables, so I'm sure I would enjoy growing cannabis.
Totally. And you know what's cool about those units? They're like self-sustaining hydroponic units, basically, and you can just plug nutrients into the side, but you can totally use the technology to grow any kind of vegetable in there that you wanted to, because all of this stuff should work for everything. So you could grow lemons or a bonsai orange tree beside your cannabis if you wanted to.
That's very cool.
In this unit, and now they have they're filled with cameras and all the nutrient cycles, and you have readers that are right in the like data analysis things inside the soil that are telling you exactly what's happening with the pH and the nitrogen levels and everything, and
so it does all the work for you, basically.
Totally. You get the best product possible.
Cool.
Contained in a technological unit that is filtered, and cannabis growing up in the basement really did a lot of great things. I think it's really interesting to see how cannabis technology and entrepreneurship all merge together so flawlessly.
Right.
And I think that like Silicon Valley is adapting cannabis extremely well because it's always been part of the culture, just like kitchen culture.
Right.
I love it. Well, I think you should have your first dab ever.
All right.
on the podcast. We got 2 Puffco Peaks here. We're drinking a beautiful bottle of J.J. Prum Spatlés Riesling 2015, and I think you should have a dab of. Would you like the Darmstadt Diesel or Mimosa?
Mimosa sounds interesting.
Okay. Mimosa is interesting. Very interesting. let's load it up. So if you guys are unfamiliar with the Puffco Peak, it's the world's first smart rig. Basically just a battery, a self-contained heating unit, and a temperature control with a water pipe on top of it. And it's very easy to moderate how much you consume. You know what? I think the best way, I was going to load up 2, but I think I'm just going to put a good sized dab in this one and let Alex take the first puff, and then I will finish off the rest. And that'll probably be the easiest way, because a lot of the time when I load people up their first dab in the Puffco, it'll get out of hand. They'll think they need to finish it, and well, by no means do you need to finish it. We just want to have a little puff.
So it's basically extracting the vapor.
Yeah.
And then you're inhaling the vapor.
Vaporizing essential oils.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just like a sage diffuser.
And there's no plant material in there. It's all been
Absolutely
extracted.
none. But this product was made from plant material through mechanical separation.
Right.
Here, I'm going to give you that. It's going to vibrate in your hand, and when it vibrates, it's ready to go. And then just sip on it pretty lightly, and that way you'll be able to moderate the amount of vapor that you intake.
Looks like an alien...
An alien dildo.
Yeah.
Go watch my Puffco Peak review on YouTube if you haven't checked it out already. You know, it's probably good. It's your first dab. We don't want to get you... We'll see how it is. It's everything. Start low and go slow, right? And then we everything in moderation. But if you hadn't got really messed up on those cookies, I guess you never would have known what was gonna be like. Yeah, it'll get you. It's a kick in the pants. I have a dab, and I try and relate it to maybe about having a joint. Like the amount of oil I put in there was probably a joint. You didn't have a whole joint. Like I hope not. I'm gonna keep sipping on this for a bit. How much was your medicinal license that you got? Is that something you feel comfortable sharing? Like how many grams did the doctor give you per day? Sorry, if you need a sec to relax, I can just keep talking.
No. Okay, I'm good. I started off with 1 gram, and then when I decided I wanted to start making edibles, I asked them to up it up. And they thought it was a great idea, and I actually did a couple cooking classes with them.
Oh, really?
Because they knew I was a chef.
Where was this? Natural Health
Harvest
Services?
Medicine.
At Harvest? Okay, cool.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. And then I actually got sponsored by Hydropothecary to do them.
What? That's awesome.
Yeah, they were giving me this super dark purple bud that was like almost black.
Incredible.
And now I have 3 grams, which is way too much, but...
I have 8 grams a day.
8 grams, oh my goodness, yeah. It's I guess it's good to have the options though, because I split it between 3 different companies.
Right. Who are you with? Hydropothecary,
Canna Farms, and Spectrum.
What do you think about Canna Farms? Do they still charge for shipping? $15 no matter what?
Yes.
See, that's BS. I signed up with them. And if Canna Farms, if you're listening, get rid of your shipping costs. If I spend $150 on cannabis, I don't want to pay $15. I know what the cost of production of cannabis is, and you're ripping me off.
Yeah, I've only ordered from them once, and I haven't ordered from them since for that exact reason.
Isn't that interesting? I literally looked. I had a big cart full. I was going to buy, like, quite a bit. I think I was going to buy my whole month's prescription. There was, like, there's almost like $1,000 or a bit more than $1,000 in my cart. And I was like, you're going to charge me $15 for shipping if I'm going to spend this much money? And Spectrum, what do you think of them? I've heard mixed reviews.
Their oils are pretty good. They have a really good CBD oil, and I kind of like, for a medical perspective, they have everything color coded. So like green, blue, yellow, red. I think those are the only colors, and the red colors I think are the really high THC. Greens are like 1-to-1s, blues are 2-to-1s, and yellow is pure CBD. So it's kind of a nice medical way of categorizing them. But the only thing I don't like is that they have proprietary strains like their own, so I don't know what I'm buying. It's just like red number 1.
Yeah, that
could be anything.
And that's BS, because red number 1 is probably super silver haze that they bastardized with something else, and they're just like, oh yeah, it's funny you mention that, because I hate the proprietary
me too.
Strain name.
Super annoying.
I understand it as a geneticist or whatever you want to call it, a breeder, a cannabis breeder, wanting to create your own brand identity. But showing homage to where that cannabis came from, I think, is also super important. I have way too many samples on the channel that's like made up name in brackets, another made up name.
Right.
Why can't it be a made up name, and then in those brackets the two pieces of cannabis lineage that this actually came from? And without that standardized information, I think the consumer will forever be lost.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I want to be familiar with cannabis, and if I go to the wine store, I can buy 500 different Merlots. Why is it that there might be 10 samples of Super Silver Haze in the cannabis retail store today, but half of them are called Red Number 1 or Block 402 or Saturday? Well, Saturday afternoon, or the Saturday guys do put the cannabis name inside the brackets.
But have you seen that one that's called Spinach?
Yes.
Like, eat your spinach?
I saw their Instagram thing like a few days ago.
Yeah, that one was interesting because it doesn't say what it is. It literally just says spinach. This is the strain. Eat your greens. That's
interesting.
That's it. Or there's Dog Walker.
Right, that's from Escape Walk. Dog Walker or Walk the Dog?
Or Walk the Dog. That's what it is. Yeah.
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 That's from Escape. I had a really bad thing from Escape right here. Actually, maybe I'll let you smell it while you're sitting in my office. But I put in a complaint. Well, actually, I complained on Instagram, and they were nice enough to reach out, which is interesting. But I told them I had tried the Walk the Dog, and it did not smell as terrible. But that is just, ooh, yeah.
I've never smelled like that before.
I know. There's something very wrong with it.
It smells like dirt.
Yeah. Barnyard. I said it smelled like fish food.
Yeah, it smells like hay in a barn.
So if you actually want to smell, here's another one of the exact same fault, and it's all improper storage. And this one's from DNA.
Wow, I've never had anything bad from DNA yet.
Yeah, this it wasn't. So now it's kind of.
It's a little astringent.
I opened it about a month ago, maybe 25 days ago. And when I first opened it, I have it on video. I'll show you the video because we're gonna put it on YouTube.
Okay.
And my reaction to it is so poor. I felt so bad after watching it because I was like, oh, I feel like I'm really looking down on this. But it was so off-putting. It off-gas like a very stinky barnyard wet dog aroma.
I could see that. Yeah. It almost smells like bad wine, you know, when you get like a bad bowl of wine.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. If I took because it's dirty. The bad wine is usually like Brettanomyces, which is
that's the word I was looking for. Yeah.
Yeah, Brett. And if you guys don't know what Brett tastes like in wine, because it's really hard to be a wine enthusiast, but Brettanomyces, Brett tastes like Band-Aid a lot of the time. That comes from a dirty wine environment, a dirty bottle, whatever. But these both smell like Brett.
That's too bad. I actually haven't had any quote unquote legal weed yet. I've only ordered from the LPs from the medical side because it's a different process, I guess.
I have one good one that I gave a pretty good review to that maybe we'll go have a puff of after. But I got a whole bag of really bad stuff right there that you're more than welcome to dig through so that you know what's good and what's bad.
Right.
Do you ever purchase cannabis from the gray market?
Yeah, I do actually. Sometimes it's flour, sometimes it's a salve, like a lotion.
Oh, interesting.
I really like pain creams for after a workout.
Mm-hmm.
They help my knees. Sometimes it's an edibles just to try it out, but the gray market edibles are so strong.
Yeah.
It's just like insane. One cookie or one brownie is 100 milligrams plus usually. So
yeah, minimum, or else nobody wants to buy them because it's a ripoff.
Right. Yeah. So
they're not looking for the average consumer.
Right.
It's interesting that there's a huge barrier to entry having to purchase medicinal cannabis just to make these things by yourself. I know that they gave you the 3 gram a day license, but it costs a fortune to purchase and do that research on what's good and what's bad.
Totally.
Working in a kitchen's not an easy thing. Becoming a chef, you spend a lot of money on food and eating other food. And so ruining cannabis really quickly to hope that it works is a totally hard thing, because I'd love to teach you how to make your own salve. We just need to get a more economical product, it sounds like.
Yeah.
That's I'm gonna be growing my own cannabis with my license, and a big thing that people are talking about, making salves from the root ball of the cannabis plant, because there's a lot of cannabinoids that are held in the roots. So I'm super interested to start experimenting with that. And
I've never heard that. That's crazy.
yeah, new kind of chat, but a lot of people get a lot of great things out of different roots. The one hard thing that you need to make sure is that because they are roots concentrate hard metals in soils. So if you are going to be making a salve, and you need to be very wary of how people have made their salves, because outdoor growing root ball salve could have a lot of bad concentrated things in it.
Right.
In my opinion, not to say that somebody hasn't made it correctly, but I always say in my opinion, just to resolve myself of any guilt
right,
when I'm right. I'm just kidding.
Interesting. I really want to try raw cannabis leaves or cannabis juicing. Have you ever tried that?
Yeah, it's a great antioxidant. Tastes god awful.
Does it? I'm sure.
Oh, tastes awful. I don't know how much actual medicinal benefit there is if you're not juicing like buds and sugar leaves.
Right.
Because a lot of people look to the fan leaves as like extra medicine, where, those are mostly just chlorophyll.
Right. So you're better off eating spirulina or algae.
Yeah, exactly. If you want your cannabis, turn into essential oil and just pop it in your mouth. Because that's the thing, all that cannabis and juicing, it's not activated cannabis. It's just something to interact with your endocannabinoid system and hopefully invigorate it. But I don't think that there's really too much benefit of doing it. You're probably just wasting your time. But again, just my opinion.
Right.
Juicing a bud might be a completely different thing. I've never wanted to waste that bud.
And I don't think a lot of people are. If anybody.
I think lots of people do. I've heard a lot of great medicinal benefits about it with Crohn's.
Okay.
It's interesting. I don't ever really talk about the medicinal uses of cannabis anymore, because I feel like as the cannabis sommelier, I don't really have a right to tell anybody how cannabis may or may not be medicinal. I feel like my only right is just to tell people that they're going to get high or drunk.
Right.
So this is a very interesting conversation, because the great thing about the podcast is people get to learn more about me as I talk to the guests. And I do have a lot of opinions and anecdotal evidence around medicinal consumption of cannabis. So I'm really enjoying this conversation. How was your dab? How are you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good. Pretty focused, nice and relaxed.
Yeah,
don't
you look
feel
good.
Tension in my shoulders.
You look better than before the dab.
Oh, good.
I like that. Easier to chat. So what's your favorite restaurant in town right now?
Probably 10 Foot Henry.
Yeah, the plant-based, hey?
Well, there's some meat in there.
Yeah.
It's pretty plant heavy, but that's not really why I like it. It's more the flavors are really balanced, nice and simple. It's nothing. They're not trying to be something they're not. They really flavor forward, vegetable focused. There's just a lot of things I like about that place. The decor is awesome. It's a beautiful restaurant.
Do you cook with plant-based often? Are you like a protein chef?
No, I myself eat a pretty healthy diet and lifestyle. So I think some of that might come across in my food. Like I'm not very starch heavy. There's not a lot of sugars in my food. It's more a lot of acid for seasoning, more vegetables. Meat will be there, but it's usually very vegetable heavy as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Did you see Health Canada's new food guide?
No.
It's great.
Is it?
It's so they've ditched the rainbow, and now the chart is a plate.
Okay.
Half your plate should be vegetables or fruits. If you're gonna eat starch, it should be whole grains, and for protein, you should be eating it just says protein rich things, and on the plate, for their example, it's like eggs and beans and
that's good. That's good to see, actually.
Other stuff, and that's only again a small portion of the plate. But they focus on protein not as meat, but as protein as a whole food group, which I thought was really, really cool. Hard boiled eggs and stuff on there, and then on the side it says if you're gonna drink something, drink water. Like that's it. Right. And I looked at it. the simplicity of it is genius. Half your diet should be fruit and veg. If you're going to eat starch, it should be whole grains and eat good protein for you. It doesn't always have to be meat.
Right.
Drink water. Like, how did it take almost 50 years for somebody to come up with this?
I'm very glad they changed that, because the old one was notoriously bad for just being not accurate to how you should live a healthy life. And it's really interesting to see food guides from all the other countries, because you compare Canada's Canada's old one, I guess now, and America's to the rest of the world. It is ridiculous how different it is.
So outdated, because
Yeah.
everybody else was, especially European countries, that's who I'm mainly thinking of, they're much more food conscious. America, like the fact that dairy products like was a whole grouping of stuff you should consume on the old food guide. Like, I'm lactose intolerant.
And a lot of people are.
Right? Like that was a rough one for people, for mothers to expect that they need to feed their kids cheese and milk for them to be strong is
Oh yeah, I think as a chef, I think milk is absolutely disgusting.
Oh yeah.
If I were to sit down here and hand me a glass of milk right now, I think I'd be gagging. I wouldn't be able to finish it.
It is pretty gross.
It is. I think it's just gnarly.
Once you realize what it is, it's gross, and then you realize that they bleach it.
Yeah.
Even grosser, and then if nobody ever reads the ingredient list on a milk, because they're just like, oh, it's milk. There's so much sugar in milk.
Yeah, isn't there more sugar in a glass of milk than there is a beer?
For sure.
Yeah.
For
That's
sure.
wild.
Yeah, that's hilarious. Like,
and back to what you said, I was drinking a glass of milk like with dinner every night when I was growing up. You can't leave the dinner table till you're done your milk.
yeah, so I can drink my 23 grams of sugar in my 250 ml glass. Like, no, it's crazy the power that the media has over everybody's thoughts. It's complacency is crazy to me, just how easy it is to be tricked, especially today. I loved seeing this article. It was like the people that share the most fake news are old people, but they were grouping old people as like 60 and over, and I was like, oh, okay, so this is most of our parents now.
Right.
Like, the good majority of people consuming false information is our generation's parents, because they want to be in tune, but they don't understand how much the internet has to offer. It's crazy when I talk to people about the internet as like a thing, like it's a real thing, and they just can't grasp that the internet is like a tangible, manipulative for sale item.
Right. With this limited or unlimited, I should say, access of knowledge and debauchery.
The internet is free. The internet is a necessity of life now. This is one thing that the World Health Organization put in. Like, the internet is a necessity of life because that's how we get our information.
Right.
So the internet is basically free everywhere in the world. Like, if McDonald's is in every country in the world, there's free Wi-Fi at that McDonald's. So as information is completely free, or that access to information is completely free, it makes that information so much more valuable, and how it's prioritized in how you interact with the internet.
Right.
And that to me terrifies me when, I can't remember what bill it was, but when the internet basically was like, it's up for sale, I was mortified, because now it'll take much more information sourcing from 10 Google pages than it was from the first 3 highlighted clicks.
Right.
I love Donald Trump. He was getting mad at Google because when you type in idiot, it comes up with pictures of him.
That's awesome. That's what the internet is. I mean,
and he's like, I don't understand why this is the Google. You're doing this to me. How can you do this, Google? And it's like, no, it's because you're search engine optimized as an idiot.
Right. That's hilarious.
People from around the world literally refer to you as an idiot, and so you come up when it's typed. Maybe that was for sale. Maybe it wasn't, but I truly think it's just because he's a dumbass.
Yeah. I mean, he's got his reputation that precedes him, so...
The government's still closed.
Is it?
Yeah, man. The government is... 1/3 of the government's still closed today.
I didn't know that.
And it blows my mind who's not getting paid when I hear that it's 1/3 of the government. Like, the fact that it's people working at air traffic control towers or the Secret Service. I'm like, these are the fucking people that aren't getting paid? Like, huh?
Yeah, this is madness. And I'm actually glad we don't live in the States, because it's nice. It's pretty spacious and quiet up here.
Oh, yeah. It's great. I love Calgary. I go other places in the world all the time, and there are these sprawling concrete jungles where you can never see a tree or like a green space. And here it's like everywhere I drive, as soon as you're on the highway, it's like, oh, why is there all this open land beside me? Where was I before? Like,
right.
why was every interstate littered with housing? And it's crazy to think, but there's 1.239 million people in Calgary right now, which is pretty cool.
That's impressive.
Yeah,
I didn't realize it was that much.
It's a lot of people. 1.6 million people in Barcelona. I just looked up these stats. That's why I know this.
Oh, okay. Just a population whiz.
Yeah, exactly. Greater Vancouver area is 2.4 million, but that includes like all Burnaby, Westminster,
Moody,
Richmond. Yeah, exactly. Inside Vancouver, it's only 640,000.
Right. Same with Portland, actually.
Okay.
Portland's pretty small, or on the smaller end. I don't even. In San Francisco, the actual city is about the same. I don't think it has more than 1 million people.
Wow. I would love to go to San Francisco.
Never been?
Never been. I would love to go and wine tour and jet off from there. I have a lot of invites. Yeah, I'd like to make it down there for a dinner.
Definitely worth checking out, even if it's just like Napa Valley.
Well, yeah, I'd like to go to Height and Ashbury too, because I love the Grateful Dead.
Oh yeah, okay.
So that has a big resonance for me. I would love to just experience all that.
Definitely worth checking out. That's how I got my first tattoo there.
No way.
It's a knife with nasturtiums kind of spiraling around it, and it's got a quote that says, "Let food be thy medicine," also wrapping around it. And they actually made their own ink.
Whoa.
So that was what drew me to it, and I came in and I was like, I don't have much time, going back to Calgary in 2 days. Can you get me in for a tattoo? And he drew this up overnight, and I came back in the next day, and it was way better than I was expecting.
Did you give him the quote?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I got it the next day and flew back to Calgary the day after that. So.
Your first tattoo?
Yeah.
It hurts there. It's right in the middle of your forearm, all the way down onto that wrist cuff.
Yeah, right on the wrist hurts the most.
The wrist is a weird.
Side.
Yeah, it's definitely a weird feeling down there. Like, I had to spend a lot of time on that spot, and it was like, ugh, it just creeped me out.
Yeah.
Up top.
Same with the elbow.
Yeah, my bow is mostly rubbed off. I get kind of dry elbows, so I got to go touch it up.
Oh yeah.
I'm not excited. So you got, are those all your tattoos on the arm?
Just the 3 on this arm. Yeah.
Looks rad though.
Thank you.
So where'd you get the octopus tentacle, or is it a?
Yeah, it's octopus. Yeah. It's just kind of funky color, so it matches the knife here. But I got the octopus here that kind of wraps around. It's kind of ripping out of my arm.
Yeah, that looks cool.
A little blood, and then this is kind of a homage to my dad.
Okay.
We used to fix bikes together, like bicycles in professional mountain bike races.
Okay.
So this is kind of like the Alberta Outback / BC. There's a little bike in there. It's pretty hard to see, but
that's awesome. The colors in that one look great. That's actually my favorite tattoo.
Oh, thanks. It's got a little wild rose too.
That's awesome. That's great. No, I love the colors in all of them. They're super interesting. Do you like octopus? Do you eat a lot of octopus?
I love eating octopus. They're very smart animals.
They're so cool.
Yeah.
Have you watched Blue Planet on?
Yeah, I was just watching it last night. Funny enough.
Mind blowing.
Yeah.
Like, oh, how creepy the octopus is as it moves around and stuff.
Yeah, they're like genius, and they have RNA, so they can change, or they can like change their DNA.
Yeah.
Or whatever it is, so they can camouflage into something.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So who did that tattoo? Did you get them in Calgary, or did you get them all over the world again?
So this was the one I got in San Francisco,
the
knife, and then the octopus and the landscape I got at Strange World on Crowchild.
Okay, yeah, it's an awesome shop.
They do a really good job there, yeah.
Any specific artist do both of them?
You know what? I don't know his name. I cannot remember his name. It's been a couple years now.
And I bet people ask you that all the time.
Yeah.
Like, who did your tattoo, man?
It's something like... Oh, I don't even want to attempt it.
That's why I stuck with the same guy for everything, because people were like, who did you tattoo? It's James Jacobs.
Nice, yeah.
Actually, sometimes I forget. I have other tattoos from other people, and I could definitely not tell you the names of any of them. Like, what about your Be Thy Medicine, Food Be Thy Medicine? Do you remember the guy that did that?
Don't remember his name.
But you
either.
remember the shop?
Yeah, it was Goldberg's, I believe.
Goldberg's. What a great Jewish tattoo shop.
It's the oldest one in San Francisco, funny enough.
Put it right on your wrist. I'm just kidding.
I think it's Goldberg's. I apologize to anyone that works there and it's not.
Yeah,
Goldberg's,
hopefully, I hope they hear it. That's fantastic. I definitely can't be buried in a Jewish cemetery. I have way too many tattoos.
Yeah.
What, do you want any more tattoos?
That's a hard question. I didn't think I'd get any more after my first one, and
they're addictive.
They are a little addictive, I'm not gonna lie. I probably will. You know what? I just don't think it'll be anything off this arm. So I think if I do continue to get tattoos, it'll only be on this one arm.
Good luck.
Yeah, we'll see about that.
I started off with like the back of my arm, and then I was like, I'll just get a half sleeve, and I had that half sleeve for like a year and a half, and then it was like, no, we need a full sleeve.
I'm sure that happens to most people too. Hey,
everybody. Like now my torso is done, like my front and my back, and I got tons of tattoos on my legs. Like I was hooked, and I hate needles. Like I am fucking terrified. Even when I go into the tattoo shop, like I play it pretty cool, but I'm so scared.
It hurts. I mean, you're just getting 3 or 4. What is it? 3 or 4 needles going in and out of you as fast as.
Oh, there's a few more.
I can see.
A few more than that.
Okay.
Like 8 to 10. I think it's 8 or 10 at a time shading, and then for lines, it's between 4 to 10.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. It's not an enjoyable experience, but after a while, your arm kind of goes numb. So maybe the pain tolerance starts.
Maybe for
up.
you, I think it's like the first 10 minutes is where I'm really good, and everything after that, I'm like, God, why did I fucking do this to myself?
Maybe I'm just a bit of a masochist just from working in kitchens so long.
Totally. A lot of people do enjoy that getting tattooed feeling. Like they like the pain, they like the idea that they know it's gonna heal, and there's, again, it's kind of like your edibles experience. I'm not gonna die,
right?
And this is what a shitload of pain feels like, and then you end up in this state of serenity where you can start to handle it. It's one of the big things that kept pushing me to get more tattoos, to be honest, was the way of the samurai, like understanding that your mind is more powerful than your body,
right?
And you can get a huge tattoo and you can recover from it, and you can go back and keep doing it, and your body's way stronger than you think.
Right. Well, I wonder how many people have that kind of mindset though.
I don't think very many.
Yeah, because people seem to give up easy. Like there's like diets, exercise. How many people go to the gym January 1st thinking they're going to be super buff this year, and then by March 1st, how many of them are left?
That's why not everybody's an entrepreneur.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
If people weren't, I feel like I talk about it in a rude way, but I feel like people are, and I'm the key candidate myself. I love to watch Netflix, do nothing more than anybody, but people are lazy.
Totally. Yeah.
And it's way easier to be lazy than it is to be accountable. But as soon as you become accountable, like, great things start happening. And this is the theme through all of my podcasts is authenticity and accountability are what make like a great person. It seems somebody that I at least want to connect with is authentic and accountable.
Right. And I think social media has helped with that in a way. I don't think social media has been the greatest tool for our society, but I think it does help with that and show people values that they think they should work for. Totally.
But a lot of people are inauthentic. Well, it's interesting that you say that, because social media can show authenticity and inauthenticity, so the line's blurred really easily. Like, I've been thinking to myself that I should probably share my downfalls a lot more on social media than only sharing my up moments. I think about it a lot that, like, well, I said it. Instagram is for flexing and complaining.
Yeah, totally.
But the people that are authentic, I seem to connect with the best. Not to say that it's like people complaining in their story about, well, no, that's what I mean. Like, authentic people tend to just be complaining.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to... Gary Vaynerchuk's great. I think he's the most authentic person.
Yeah, he's really good.
But it's interesting because as I say that, he's authentic and inauthentic at the same time, because he knows that he's playing a role. Like, it's just like Mike Tyson was one of the greatest boxers ever, especially at his moment. He was the greatest boxer ever because he knew people were paying for a show.
Yeah.
And he was a showman. And I see the same thing about Gary Vaynerchuk's authenticity. It's very authentic in his want to help, but he knows that he is still being watched and people's opinion still matters.
Right. That is true. I guess Instagram, obviously, all social media has its pros and cons, more being probably cons, I think, at this point. But I guess speaking from experience, it's always been a really positive thing for me because I can show off my artwork and I don't really show too much of my personal life on there.
Okay.
It's mostly just some food that I did up for either a concept or my menu, and it's just great to share my art, whereas opposed to influencers, let's say, that are posting pictures of products as their only posts and say, buy this, my life's great, I'm so much better with this. I think that's super toxic too.
Totally. The influencer world is interesting because it's kind of the world that I've ended up in. Not that I get paid to promote anything, or do I say go out and buy it, but it's interesting that I post a lot of products and people and places, and that they're like, I was just at Lyft in Vancouver, and
right.
I kept being pulled out of the crowd because people knew who I was. And that was really interesting, because if I looked at your Instagram profile and saw your beautiful plates and I was one of your 25,000 followers, I would be able to walk right past you because there's only your profile picture of you. And unless I was like the biggest creep ever and zoomed all the way in, I would never know that it was you.
Right.
And it was kind of a crazy experience. I didn't understand, because people, like, I don't know, I try to be authentic on Instagram as much as I can, show parts of my life, and people I guess resonated with that because they saw me in a crowd and wanted to talk to me, and that's
very cool.
It blew my mind. It was so cool, and it's happened more and more, and it's like, it's freaking weird. I don't know if anybody should deserve. It feels great. I looked at my YouTube analytics yesterday, and in the last 28 days, people have watched 233 hours of me.
Wow.
Yeah. I was like,
that's a lot.
Right. I was like, holy shit. That's viable proof of concept. Like, this is what I've been aiming for. This is crazy. So, yeah, I'm excited to roll out even more content.
That is very cool.
Yeah, hope you'll come in the kitchen with me. We can show people you authentically making some olive oil bread.
That'd be pretty cool. Yeah.
I'd love that. Because, I always want to work in kitchens. I worked as a prep cook and Boston Pizza, and I washed dishes, and I've been in a kitchen, but not as a chef or a cook. So it's really interesting for me to be around all these amazing chefs and be able to learn from like some of the best people in the world. Like, you've worked at Noma, so I'm really excited that I get to peer over your shoulder and wash your dishes when we end up in the kitchen.
Yeah, that'd be exciting. It's a really great time for food, I guess. So there's so many people like so interested in learning. There's a lot of like the foodie movement, basically. And it's, going back to people being prep cooks or dishwashers, they're always idolizing the chef. I want to be there. I want to work on the line. Like, this is so cool. I think a lot of people that work in restaurants end up becoming chefs because they're just so fascinated with what the chef does, and it's because it's almost like a rock star kind of life. But
totally.
Then as they're going through this industry, most people don't make it that far because they start realizing this industry is god awful.
It's toxic. It's
super toxic. And the better the food you make, the less you get paid, and the more hours you have to work. So if you're doing fine dining, like at Noma, we worked 18 hours a day.
Wow.
And they for sure deserved their number one spot. There's no question about it. There's so much. I've never seen an environment where there's so much hard work.
Pure commitment from every single person.
Yeah. But even in the restaurants in Calgary, I was working 14 hours a day.
Wow.
And it's not even close to what Noma was.
That blows my mind. And 14 hours a day as chef, or 14 hours a day working with somebody else to try and create a vision?
14. Yeah, we're with a team, and you got your line cooks, your prep cooks, dishwasher. You're delegating everyone, And then because of the size of the restaurant was more than 100 seats, and also cook, prep, plate,
Mental.
expedite. Yeah, it's just crazy. And then you send people home to meet a labor cost. You have to work their shift too.
Yeah, that sounds awful. Like I said, I think I've said this in every podcast too. I wouldn't wish a restaurant or a dispensary on my worst enemy.
Dispensary, why is that?
You need 15 times the capital you need to open a restaurant.
Really?
Yeah, and you'll
Just
make...
from buying all the product or what?
It's just the loopholes, playing with the government, even actually making the sale, buying the product, totally like no part of it is efficient unless you have a lot of money in your pocket. Don't play the game right now. Like, honestly, I tell people straight up, unless you're willing to lose $5-10 million, do not get in this game right now.
Wow.
And that's just honest, free advice. Let the people with deeper pockets than you figure it out first, because they're already doing it. But again, then there's that tipping point, the TSN turning point, where you can't let them monopolize everything.
Right.
So you cook with cannabis ever? Like at home for yourself, or do you ever do it for clients?
We are working on. Me and some buddies are opening up an edibles company.
Yeah.
It's gonna be called Lofty.
Cool.
So we're kind of product developing for that right now. And I've been eating edibles for a while just because I prefer not to smoke usually. I'll sometimes vape too, but so I've cooked a lot of things like infused guacamole, infused tzatziki.
Yeah, nice.
Do like a nice Moroccan spice chicken with like tzatziki and stuff, and it's just all infused. I don't cook for myself very often though with cannabis.
Those sound like great recipes. I love the idea of Moroccan spice chicken with infused tzatziki. It's giving me this amazing idea because every day I'm talking to different chefs about their different infusions and recipes. Like I want to make a cookbook so bad.
Yeah.
Everybody says all these different things from all over, like left field, and it just like until this moment I've infused everything. I like to say I've never thought about doing infused tzatziki.
Oh, cool.
Like, that's crazy. That's awesome. I love that idea. And I love the idea of infused sauces. So Lofty, that's a great name. Are you looking to do savory, sweet, somewhere in the middle?
We're going to do both. So right now we have a couple products developed for the sweet side. Still kind of picking around for savory recipes and product placement for that. But we kind of just want to hit a lot of targets, different flavors for different palates. And more higher end, high craft ingredients, more you want a sense of luxury almost. We don't want to just do the traditional ooey gooey brownie, as good as a brownie is.
Yep.
It's boring at this point. People don't want that.
Totally.
People want something else.
Totally. We were talking earlier about the hot sauce, and the hot sauce I made, Serrano sour diesel habanero.
Delicious, by the way.
Thank you. I can't wait to hop in the kitchen and start doing some recipe testing with you and doing some different sauces, because I love hot sauce. When I first started making hot sauce, I was like, why have I been wasting all my money? Well, I shouldn't say it like that because we want to sell it eventually. But but I think that's the beauty of anything. Hot sauce is a very simple thing to make if you want to give it the time and find the right ingredients. So I'm stoked to see what we can create. I have a lot of ideas, but it's interesting when you have somebody else sharing food cost is crazy, because I'm sure you've experienced this as a chef.
Yeah.
You probably want to do everything all the time, but it gets expensive. That's like me with drinking wine. I'd love to drink Cristal, but my bottle's sitting in the basement still.
Yeah, exactly. You can't serve truffle and foie gras with every dish. And
Totally. I went to my neighbor's house. We moved in here in August, and my neighbors invited us over, and it was an experience. It was they were very, very nice people. And it was great because there's a big tin of foie that I was like, what? I'm looking around, I got an AGD, and then they got the spread out, and there's this big tin of Quebec foie, and nice. I'm like, oh yeah, like you guys rock. And they're like, oh, we didn't know how you'd feel about it. And then I realized that there is this whole ethical issue behind foie gras. But anyways, I just thought it was fantastic that they went the whole. I've never bought myself that big of a tin of foie gras ever. I was crushing it.
Well, it just got banned in California, hey?
Really?
Yeah. So they proposed it in 2012, and then I think it was kind of just on the chopping block until January of this year. Yeah, it's officially banned, and all the restaurants in LA had to take it off their menu, and it's just for ethical reasons. It's just way too not humane, I guess.
Well, there's only so many livers and so many ducks.
Yeah, have you seen how they do it?
No, but I'm sure like they don't just butcher the duck and split the pieces out.
No, they take the duck's neck and tilt it up and put a funnel into its mouth.
Okay.
And like funnel grains into its stomach.
Okay.
And then it digests all these things and it makes the liver really fat, and it grows 3 or 4 times the size. And that's what gives it its fattiness. And the only way to get the duck to eat that much food is by force feeding it.
Yeah, that's pretty unethical. I'm upset that I just ate so much of that foie.
But it's kind of the best thing ever.
Yeah, it's so good. I don't know how many people haven't had foie gras that are listening, but you should probably go buy yourself a tin before they outlaw it everywhere.
It is liver, but it does not taste like liver at all.
No,
it is buttery, meaty heaven.
I love foie gras profiteroles.
Oh, yeah.
I hate that word, profiterole. It sounds like something you'd stick up your butt. We're doing a foie gras donut at the dinner on Saturday with Chef Alicia
Cool.
Ross.
Nice.
So that'll be delicious, with like an infused cherry sauce. And
just yesterday, I actually put foie gras crepes on my menu.
Ooh. Yeah. So do you have a rotating menu that you like send to your clients and they can choose from, or do you?
I do it mostly seasonally, so like 3 or 4 a year.
Okay.
Right now it's obviously winter, so more heavier dishes, more starches, more heavier flavors, stronger flavors. Spring will be rolling out in probably late March.
Okay.
Maybe early April, depending on how much fresh vegetables we're having and the spring produce is coming out.
Awesome. What's your favorite thing on your menu right now?
Probably the braised beef cheek.
Oh, I love a good braised beef cheek. Yes.
I love beef cheek. For anyone who's never had beef cheek, it is like 10 times better than short rib.
Oh yeah.
So much collagen in there. So when it braises, it makes a super elegant, rich, viscous sauce.
Yeah.
Oh, it's heavenly.
When it's bad though, it's bad.
Yeah.
That's a hard thing that turns a lot of people off. They don't have a trained 3-star Michelin chef cooking it for them, but damn, I can't wait to try your beef cheek. That sounds awesome. I'm like I can't wait till we do a dinner together, because people are going to be blown away. Blown away. Any ways you imagine like cooking with cannabis differently? Have you ever infused like different fats or anything like that? I know you said you did guacamole and tzatziki. And
yeah. So, as you probably know, you can infuse it with pretty much any fat. I really like sesame oil is really good.
Oh yeah, interesting.
You just have to make sure you add that lecithin in there so it actually binds the oil. Some oils bind better, like coconut and MCT oil are probably the best.
You just gave everybody a straight up insider pro tip.
That's good. Avocado oil also has natural lecithin in it, so that's a good binder. It's pretty neutral taste as well. Duck fat, beef tallow or beef fat, foie gras. You do infused foie gras fat.
Yes. Lecithin also creates more bioavailability for the cannabis in the endocannabinoid system. So even if you're just having you can pick lecithin up at any Whole Foods store or whatever, or vitamin store.
And there's 2 kinds you can usually get. There's sunflower, and I believe the other one's corn.
Which one would you suggest?
Corn's a little bit better binding agent, and the sunflower one's quite a bit darker. Okay. So if you put it into an oil, it'll make, let's say if you're using like a butter, it'll make it brown.
Which is quite kind of a deterrent sometimes.
Yeah, and the taste isn't great either. The corn one's more neutral.
Okay, yeah, go for the corn. Yeah. Go for the corn.
I believe it's corn.
Pro tip.
Yeah.
Everybody's writing notes. Well, that's super cool. If you could cook with one person, who would it be? Like, who would you go staunch with if you could right now?
Oh man, that's a good question. Probably.
Is there anybody hype on Instagram that you're like following a whole bunch?
There's tons of people on Instagram that are doing really dope stuff. Maybe I would say either Gordon Ramsay at his prime, because he's actually a phenomenal chef.
Yeah, I've got to talk to a few chefs that work with Gordon Ramsay.
Cool. Either that, or I'd probably do a stage at like 11 Madison Park in New York.
Have you watched that 7 Days Out show on Netflix yet?
No, it's on my list.
Oh, you're gonna have to tell me what you think of the new 11 Madison Park.
Okay.
I don't know.
You don't know how you feel about it?
Okay, so between you and me and absolutely everybody on the internet listening, I was told that, who was it? Very, very prominent person. It might even be in a podcast episode now that I'm thinking about it. But my buddy, who's a restaurant owner, told me that one of his chefs went there and sent food back. He had the rubberiest lobster of his life.
What?
And I've just heard some more bad reviews about 11 Master Park than good reviews, which blows my mind.
That blows my mind.
So yeah, but also, I always remember that Rouge in Calgary was on the number one, or on the top 50 restaurant list.
That's right.
And my experiences there have been, not top 50 in the world experiences.
Right.
I guess they only made it 1 year, but it did put them in an echelons with a lot of other people. Is it staunch or stage? How do I say the word?
Stage.
Where's that word come from?
France, I'm guessing.
Yeah, it must be a French word. Must be a French word, because I'm like, I've been butchering that one for a while.
Yeah.
It's okay. I'm still trying. Remember, everybody should remember that, like, I'm a cannabis guy first, and I got into wine and fine dining a few years ago because they were things I was passionate about and excited about, and had a transition between cannabis. But I'm still learning, which is exciting because there's so much to learn as I'm introduced into the hospitality industry. Like I'm going from the alcohol industry into hospitality and events, and it's like really exciting. Gordon Ramsay. Who worked with Gordon Ramsay? Tristan Bunkowski, my chef in Vancouver.
Cool.
Who will be doing a dinner together on Valentine's Day coming up, and then we got one March 6th, the night of the Action Bronson show.
That's very exciting.
Invited Action Bronson. I hope he shows up. Action.
Show up, Action.
Yeah, subscribe to the podcast. If Action Bronson comments on the podcast, I'm gonna be so hyped.
Yeah, no kidding.
That'll be it.
Well, that's exciting. That's hopefully we can Calgary, like you said, like Vancouver and Toronto are set up for these kind of events, and they've got the culture, and they've had it way longer than Calgary has. Calgary's got a lot of catching up to do, so it'd be cool to see that kind of stuff in Calgary. I've
got the dinner this Saturday with Chef Alicia Ross, who's nominated as Calgary's best chef, beside your old Chef Conde de Souza, and which is pretty cool to see this young food truck chef up beside these heavy hitters. But yeah, it'll be hard to prove the concept, it seems. I don't know if people are ready for it, which seems kind of crazy to me. I thought everybody was completely ready for it, but it's bringing the best chefs in North America.
You're right. And
creating this culture, because that's what we're really trying to do. I've been pitching a show where I show off cannabis dining and cannabis and wine pairing, and for food, a Food Network audience. And a lot of the time I talk to people and they're like, no, this isn't a Food Network show. And it's like, well, then you're not seeing the same vision I am, because the only way we normalize cannabis is if we can bring the best chefs with the most knowledge, with the most credibility into that world, and show people that it's not it's not the stigmatized thing that you assume.
Right.
So anyways, that's my mission for this year.
That's great. Yeah, there is a huge, especially with edibles, because you hear so many people talking about the horror stories. Like I even shared one that didn't have the correct dose, and the paranoia came in. You always hear about those people that took way too many, and they're just freaking out. Like on the internet, there's those cops that ate the brownies, and they're freaking out, and they called 911 themselves, and saying how slow time was moving and stuff. So you hear about all these things. So these really cool to see these dinners help destroy that stigmatism of you're eating all these edibles or infused dishes, and you don't have to get blasted and have that paranoia. You can have fun with edibles.
Yeah, it's bringing new customers into it. I find it very easy to bring in cannabis consumers, but how do we bring in everybody else?
Right.
How does it become cool and acceptable for everybody's mom to buy a ticket? And that's what I'm really trying to figure out. I was hoping after legalization, because I ran these dinners as proof of concept before legalization. I was hoping that after legalization, people might jump on it more. I put the events out very publicly. It is seeing a lot of traffic online. There's press about it, and just no commitment, which I thought was really weird, because I know that the Herbal Chef, I don't know if you've ever seen him, Chris Sage, he sells out his dinners, in Vancouver. The last one he did sold out in a day.
Wow.
It was on Van City Buzz, sold out.
Wow.
And I'm sure it sold out to everybody, because he did it, I think he was like $350 or $500 a seat.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So that blows my mind, because I would never, at this moment, unless I was opening very fine wines, consider doing that much. And I don't think he poured wine.
Wow. That is amazing. And how many milligrams is he serving at these dinners?
2
milligrams.
And you know what he does? It's kind of a cop-out too, because I had a friend go, I think he said he worked with them or went, I don't remember. But he was just dropping tincture on top of these dishes. He'd finally plate fine dining and then drop a tincture on.
Yeah, that's what I've done actually before when I've done cannabis dinners. Yeah.
So that's, in my eyes, bit of a cop-out.
Right.
Like, I would love for you to infuse fats and be cooking with it.
Well, the only reason why I've done that and we've done that is we wanted to make sure that no one had a bad experience. We wanted exact dosing. The only way to exactly dose it was to do that.
How much did you dose them?
It ended up being 12.5 milligrams for the dinner.
Through the whole dinner?
Yeah, so spread out between 5 courses.
That's super interesting. So how do you guarantee that there's, like, I want to do that kind of microdose, but I don't want to have to individually dose people, because I had one experience with the Nomad cook where the first thing he did was explain his story, and then he pointed at everybody and asked, how much edibles can you handle?
Wow.
And I thought that was very awkward, like, for somebody to tell me, like, yeah, I started this because Chris Sage sold out his dinner, so I figured I could sell out a dinner. Okay, how much edibles can you take?
Right.
Scale of 1 to 5. And we're at a table with 8 people I've never met before. So it's interesting that the tincture is just on top. But the problem with his was, I wanted the highest level of infusion, and it made everything taste like he'd just done THC distillate and coconut oil, and it made everything taste like coconut.
Right.
Where, as I'm talking to more and more people, like, I love the idea of your infused tzatziki on sauces, and people being, we use such an extreme microdose, but then you almost let people dictate their experience because they can decide if they want to double dip or not. But I don't know. I guess it's a total learning curve, and what the actual tipping point is for consuming a cannabis edible, and what your duty of care is, and how far it can go.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to be able to dose, like, for a large dinner, have the tzatziki dosed, and then just evenly do it along each plate.
Yeah.
But it's gonna be different. It's gonna be so varied on each plate. Someone could get 3 milligrams, someone could get half a milligram. So, like, if it was a restaurant, we could serve tables like in a traditional restaurant. Mm-hmm. If it's an infused restaurant, we just divvy out the portions perfectly and plate them as we go.
So that's an interesting concept. You don't think that any of your food products are evenly dosed throughout?
If I do it in the actual product, unless it's like a cake or something you measure out with a ruler or a scale, you're never going to get perfect even doses. Even if you tried it, do even portions. Unless you use a scale.
Yeah. Unless you use a scale.
Yeah.
But so how do you bring an edibles company to scale then? If we were talking about a dish and single serve, how do we guarantee it in a brownie? I
mean, I guess there's no 100% guarantee.
Yeah.
You just have to be really careful when you're mixing in the fat to the dish. So, like, for a cookie, when you're whipping the butter, you want to add that oil right at the beginning, mix it in, and then keep adding your ingredients, keep mixing it as you're going all the way to the very last ingredient, and then mix it some more.
So you're saying mixing it. So you're saying, theoretically, not to put you on the spot, but you can't batch any edible and then lay it out? Like, you couldn't batch a baby killer, a sauce, and it would be all, you wouldn't feel appropriate serving it all because you wouldn't think the dosage was correct throughout? Well,
like a pure liquid sauce would be fine.
Okay.
If you were doing it exact, like capping off at a teaspoon and then dumping it on the plate.
Okay.
So you knew exactly what you're doing. But with a cookie, for example, again, You can get it pretty evenly dosed if you weigh it and weigh everything and make sure it's mixed very, very thoroughly. It's just that scale that's super important. So you divide like the whole batch.
Right. I have a buddy moving to a lab. So I think together we're gonna do a lot of testing. I think we should figure out what kind of variance is actually going on,
right,
and how to make this not a question. Because this is definitely, as I think about what you're saying more and more, it makes a lot of sense, and it makes a lot of sense why so many edibles companies. Well, it doesn't make so much sense why they're so skewed, but like I've watched on Viceland like big companies making syrups, and they're making simple syrup infused with distillate, and then they're candying the fruit that they use after, and they're claiming that it's X amount, but it's totally not X amount of infusion,
right,
at all. But we can totally send multiple samples to labs to figure out how much concentration of THC is in,
and that's super important, because you want it to be consistent. First of all, nobody's going to buy brownie if it didn't do anything again, unless they absolutely love the taste.
Totally. So what's the dose? So you take 30 milligrams of CBD. What do you think do you agree with Health Canada's 10 milligram dosing proposals? I
do actually agree with it. For the 3 years straight now that I've been eating edibles, I've been having consistently 10 milligrams every single time. And that's lab tested oil. And it's a consistent, perfect dose for me every time, the way I want to feel when I take it. If I, and that's what I really like about it. And I think maybe because of my liver, I'm a little bit more intolerant to it.
Right, more susceptible, yeah.
Yeah, so I can't take if I were to smoke a whole joint, it'd just be way too strong. So THC is a little sensitive in my body. So 10 milligrams for me has been perfect, and a lot of other people I know too. Some people can even only have 5 milligrams.
Wow, and see, I come out sometimes and I say 5 milligrams is a placebo effect. Because if you were to relate that to like a joint, 5 milligrams is not even a puff. It's like you might have smelt weed. Right.
But it's because it's metabolized through the liver, I think. And
right.
It's not.
And everybody's endocannabinoid system is so different.
It's a completely different molecule when it goes through your liver.
Right. And I've never chatted about the endocannabinoid system on here, but are you familiar with it?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, every cell in our body has the CB1 and CB2 receptor, and just the way cannabis binds through our body, we evolved with this. Cannabis does something super special throughout every single person's body, and all of our biochemistry is so different. I remember the first time I consumed cannabis and everybody else got high, and I was like, I don't get it. And then I went and played Scrabble with Buddy's mom and won. And it's like, okay, maybe it's not the same for everybody.
Right.
And I was lucky that I got to clue into that right at the start, because it gave me an opportunity to collect the data for what ended up being now my full-time job.
Right. Well, it's interesting if someone has this magical experience the first time they have cannabis. I wonder if that makes them more susceptible to getting psychologically addicted to it.
I bet.
Because if you're just having like this mellow experience, you're not going to be like, it's not going to that rush of dopamine. This is great. But then I guess it would be a different drug if it was doing those kind of things every time.
Yeah, it's definitely like, I'm sure our experiences are completely different. I consume cannabis. I consume a lot of cannabis, and it gives me the opportunity to pick my thoughts, slow down this carousel of ideas. And you consume it for inflammation, and you're not doing it to get stoned, but I truly need to medicinally, not that I'm becoming intoxicated, but feel that intoxicating effect for others to process my thoughts slower.
Right.
And have a better grasp on those thoughts.
Cannabis does help me slow down my thoughts as well. It's like, especially with CBD or a 1-to-1, smoke a 1-to-1. If my mind is racing, it'll make me kind of step back and analyze my thoughts, and then get over it, and then I stop overthinking. It's that's still, medicinal aspect of it.
Totally.
And it's even THC is, though I can't have that much, it puts me in like a really relaxed, stress-free state. But I'm also the type of person that if I were to finish that whole joint, I would be complete paranoia again.
Really?
Yeah.
When was the last time you tried finishing the whole joint?
It's probably been a year or two.
I always talk about set and setting. Like, would you really be paranoid What's there to be paranoid about? I only ask because I don't understand those feelings.
I think it's every single time it's always been because I've burned my throat.
Oh.
And my brain is like, your throat's closing. Your throat's closing. Panic now.
That sounds terrible.
Yeah, so I have to go look in the mirror and make sure my throat actually isn't closed. And then I realize, oh, okay, it's not closed, and I can calm down.
That's good.
Then I can feel the feeling building up again. It's like this anxiety in my body. So I don't know. Like
I think you do way better with essential oils and dabs.
That was actually perfect. Yeah, there was. What you gave me earlier was the perfect amount too.
Yeah, I feel like we could get feel free to come over any night and we can get a little messed up. And because it's an interesting thing, the fine line between medicinal. I was talking about earlier how it's cannabis is my medicine, my hobby, and my social setting, and also an intoxicant when I choose for it to be.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely vaporizing essential oils will keep away that fear of ever burning your throat. Like, we can put this down on blue and it's only ever going to vaporize at 400 degrees Fahrenheit.
Right.
It's a guarantee.
That's good. Well, I do usually use a vape.
Which vape do you have?
I have the Airizer Air.
Okay.
The first one, I think. They have a new one out now. But it doesn't seem to burn my throat that much, and I have a much better experience when I vape.
Totally.
Every time I've smoked more than half a gram, or not half a gram, half a joint, I've had paranoia. But with vaping, you can finish the bowl and I'll be fine. I'll just be really high.
The future of cannabis consumption. I was writing an article about this, how technology is going to evolve the modern cannabis consumer, and how the use of technology destigmatizes cannabis. Like, I have this little packs thing. I'm going to review it on the channel. I got it when I was out at Lyft.
Okay.
The thing is literally only that big. You can fit a half gram or 0.8 in it, and like, it runs through through Bluetooth. It runs through an app, so I can set it to a literal, to the temperature, to the degree.
That's awesome.
Has all these different settings, and a product like that really does destigmatize cannabis consumption. When you show somebody that, do you want a puff of this? Because the e-cigarette and the vape have been so normalized, especially those big ones, the big honky ones that they first started out with, and now how they've sleeked and slendered down, people really find it normalized and appropriate to have a puff off of anything. So technology is going to push the end of cannabis stigma. Yeah,
I agree, actually. And like even your dab machine is saying it looks like something from an alien movie. It's not as intimidating as, I think, just burning plant product into your mouth. Some people love that and getting in touch with nature. Like, I think Joe Rogan once said that it's way too foreign for him. He loves just like the human touch of burning something.
I love smoking. I was a 2-pack-a-day cigarette smoker.
Really?
Yeah, like till 5 years ago, and I love smoking.
Really?
So much. That's why I still smoke cannabis.
Interesting. Because
I just like the act of it.
Whereas I hate smoking. I don't like the feeling, the smell. Obviously the intoxicant effects are pretty similar. Mm-hmm. But with the vape, you can customize it more. You can get more terpenes. You can get less terpenes. You can
tailored user experience.
Yeah, I think that's really appealing to people.
Yeah, the user experience is what I talk about a lot in cannabis and the future of cannabis. Every user's so different. Like 40% of the Colorado market is edibles, and that's because not everybody wants to smoke.
Right.
But if people want to smoke, how can they tailor their smoking or vaping experience to them? And it's through technology. Mm-hmm. But if you like that, it's the word carnal. I'm going to go with it. Just like smoking a raw product. I'm thinking about Elon Musk hitting the blunt on Joe Rogan now. Do it. But it's terrible for wine pairing. Like, if you're...
Oh, yeah, I bet.
If you're doing anything that I preach, only use your vaporizer. Unless it's red wine. Like, Zinfandel, don't really like it. But if you're going to drink Zinfandel and pair it with something, smoke your cannabis, because it's going to make your Zinfandel a little bit better. Just cuts through all that sugar and tannin and...
Right. That's interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of like, you understand the idea of protein string elongating the tannic structure of wine.
Right.
For everybody that doesn't know, it's like the fuzzy slipper you feel in your mouth when you drink red wine. So protein makes that piece of fuzzy slipper longer so that it doesn't feel as aggressive in your mouth. My hypothesis is that smoke does the same thing, and it's binding with that tannic structure and it's elongating it.
Right. That makes sense.
Because it does feel smoother in my mouth.
Right.
The same reason why tea and smoking a joint work, or coffee and smoking a joint work, is that tannic structure.
That's funny you mentioned tea and smoking a joint, because I don't really drink alcohol at all.
Right. Thanks for having a glass with me.
Yeah, no worries.
Little tiny one. Everybody, don't blame me. Don't throw in the comments at us.
It's because of my liver, not because I'm an alcoholic. But where was I going with that?
With your tea.
Tea. Yeah, tea and cannabis. I don't drink, so I feel like if I want to be intoxicated, I kind of have to do something. If I'm in that party state, and so I'll have some cannabis and a tea, and that'll be my my vice for the night, and gets me in a good place, and I feel I can tolerate the people that are drunk better.
So there's a big future for cannabis beverages?
Oh yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think, like, especially CBD and coffee, I found...
You won't be ever able to mix those two?
Unfortunately. That's true. In Canada, you can't.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Caffeine and cannabis.
That's too bad, because CBD and coffee is like a stacked nootropic almost. It's like you're getting this the benefits of caffeine without the jitteriness, and it takes away the anxiety with the CBD, and it's a really harmonious balance.
I hate coffee. It messes me up. I was really addicted to Red Bull. I used to drink a lot of coffee, a lot of Red Bull, and it was because I was a smoker also, and I didn't realize, like, I didn't understand my body. I didn't have the right self-awareness to understand my feelings. But now when I drink coffee, it completely messes me up. Like, I can't sleep. I'm jittery. I have so much anxiety. I might even have, like, uncomfortable stomach issues. And so yeah, I'm against coffee. I started drinking water in the morning and started feeling so much more awake than I'd ever with coffee. But I know it's such a religious experience for so many people, and it's totally ingrained in some religions. Totally,
yeah. And I'm the same way. If I drink coffee, I'm super jittery, anxious. I feel almost sick. So same with my roommate. And so you should maybe next time, if you ever want to try coffee again, try a dab of CBD isolate with it.
Yeah.
And see how it makes you feel.
I can put just CBD. I'll put a few hundred milligrams of CBD in the coffee.
Yeah, you could even put it right in the coffee.
Just load it up.
Yeah, because it's very anti-anxiolytic or anti-anxiety, and I really feel like you get the benefit of the caffeine without the negative side effects that have come from whatever part of your physiology is causing that.
Yeah, totally. I think I rocketed whatever receptors way too far, and now they're just...
Makes sense.
Too sensitive. Quitting Red Bull was way harder than quitting cigarettes.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah, and quitting pop has been the hardest of everything.
There's sugar-free pop now, though.
Yeah, who wants to drink sugar-free pop?
The stevia ones are actually pretty good. If you can tolerate the taste.
Find me sugar-free milk, and I'll drink sugar-free pop.
Yeah.
There's the deal. And it's crazy. For everybody that hasn't looked, skim milk has way more sugar than homo milk. The more fat, the less sugar. So
I wonder what milk would taste like without the sugar. I've never had raw milk.
I bet it's bitter and disgusting.
Could be.
You thought you were going to gag before? I bet it's just revolting.
That sounds pretty gross.
Oh. Well, I guess you're a chef. You'll probably stumble upon like straight up unpasteurized milk fat soon. And and you should definitely have a spoonful, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. I know in California in particular, raw milk's a really big health food product there. But they got in huge trouble with it. They were saying that it cured like autism and all these like different viruses, and all these kids were going to hospital with kidney failure because they were getting E. coli. Saw a document. It's on Netflix. I think it's Rotten. Was the documentary?
That's disgusting.
Yeah,
it's almost as bad as Fire Festival. Did you watch that documentary?
No,
yet?
I heard about that.
You're hustling too hard. You're not watching enough Netflix. It's good.
Blue Planet, man. That's all I have time for.
These Fire Festival guys straight up did this dude Billy and Ja Rule.
Okay.
It's great that it was Ja Rule.
Wow.
They do this festival, and like the whole time they're booking this festival, they're doing it, they're lying about all the money that they're spending. They're taking more venture capital money, and at first it was supposed to be like on this Pablo Escobar island, but that wasn't allowed, so they ended up doing it on this like Grand Exuma Bahama island. Anyways, they bought like they ended up throwing it like an empty residential development, and they put up straight up like hurricane relief tents, like geodome hurricane relief tents. They sold people like $25,000 campground things like they have at Coachella.
Yeah.
And so the only way to get people there, it's like a really expensive thing to go to, and the only way to get people there is to charter your own flights. So they literally like build this shithole festival with no infrastructure to even support anybody. There's no food. There's like literally nothing. And the dude's like, yeah, fuck it, let's just start flying people in because doing it's better than not doing it. And it was a literal disaster.
Oh, I can't even imagine.
Like watching it hurt me so much. I'm watching this and I'm like, oh my God. It was stressing me out. I was like, if I ever got scammed, the guy's in jail for 6 years.
No way.
Yeah, Ja Rule got away with it somehow. He's still out there on Twitter because people are really harping on him now because a lot of people never got paid. Like everybody that built the whole festival for them with the intention of getting paid, dude, Donald Trumped him.
Oh man.
And for everybody that doesn't know, Donald Trump is a fucking bad businessman. He's a good businessman because he's a bad businessman. Go watch his documentary. The dude lies, cheats, and steals his way straight to the top. The only reason he's rich is because he sued New York so they didn't have to pay taxes on his second building, just like they gave him the exemption on his first building. He built stuff in Atlantic City and literally walked away from people and put them into bankruptcy. Like, he's a bad dude. But we all knew that. Somehow everybody just voted for him because crooked Hillary was there and the Russians got too deep. Even I didn't like Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, it was an interesting run. It was very comedic.
I donated to Bernie Sanders.
Nice.
Yeah, I donated to his campaign $20.
Nice.
I love Bernie Sanders. I think that dude should run every fucking country on earth. You know, maybe that's a bad idea. But free education, free healthcare, take care of each other. Man, if I make $20 million, I'm really happy to give $10 million of it away so that people can go to school to hopefully make a better world.
Nice, yeah.
Like, it just seems mental to me that people need more and more and more, and the people on the lower end have less and less and less. The more I go to the States, I realize that there's this extreme wealth gap, and racial segregation is very real. And those two ideas combined are an extremely destructive force that has kept kind of white people rich and people of color struggling. And,
right.
And that seems so fucked up to me. Like it makes me really angry that even generational wealth and all these things aren't shared. Why should some old slave owning family now be part of the monopoly that now enslaves as employees low income people?
Right.
Like, it's just, the circle just keeps going around and around, and if nobody ever stops to fix it and drastically changes the system, it'll just keep getting worse until there's another civil war.
Right. Well, Bernie Sanders is getting old now. I don't know if he's going to be able to run.
Oh, yeah. There's the senator for California is going to run. She looks like an amazing woman.
Okay.
She's a woman of color who's going to run for president.
Wow.
Yeah. She could one-up Hillary real hard. Real hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't really follow American politics too closely, so this is all kind of
I had to take CNN off my TV. I follow it way too closely. I love it because I think it's so incredible that we're in this part of history where, you're never going to see a mistake like this motherfucker again.
Right, yeah, and that's very true. Yeah.
You know, George Bush was pretty bad. The second. First one, pretty bad too. Like, all U.S. presidents except for Barack have been a little fucked up in the last kind of all of them.
Trump makes them all look good, though.
Yeah, dudes had the government closed for a month to build a fucking wall to keep out the most industrious, hard-working people I've ever met. Like, Mexicans are great people.
Yeah.
Blows my mind. You guys are come up to Canada, but it's crazy to think that we don't let in like crazy amounts of immigrants. The propaganda around immigration into Canada is so false. Like when all these Canadians, like redneck Canadians, Trump supporting Canadians, get mad that they see people who have come all the way through the United States and are like walking through the border. And like last year, I think there was like a few thousand of them.
Right.
Like there's so much space here. There's so much opportunity here.
Oh yeah, there's so much space in Canada.
Please come. Whatever you're escaping, let's make it better here so that we can make it better wherever you had to leave. Because that's the only way the world gets better. And it just upsets me so much that people can't understand that that people are migrant. Mm-hmm. Like to think that we're not nomadic is mental. If you understand the concept of Pangea, nobody comes from where they live now. So fucking leave it alone, right? And just like accept and move on. Anyways, that's my rant.
No, I think I agree with you, and that's a good point. It's just crazy.
It is. It's yeah. Anyway, civil war. I'm pre-calling will happen. There'll be like some crazy revolt. It blows my mind that Donald Trump hasn't been assassinated and that John F. Kennedy did get assassinated. Like, let's think about the good guys. Let's think about the guy who literally smoked weed in the Oval Office. If you don't know that story.
I did not know that story.
Yeah, JFK had medicinal cannabis
really?
For his back. Pretty sure was the story. But yeah, he's cannabis consumer. And yeah, that dude's dead from an ice bullet. Mm-hmm. Like, come on. If somebody could figure this out 40, 50 years ago and it's still unsolved, how has nobody wiped out the guy that has the government closed?
That's a good question. I actually predicted that he'd be assassinated, but I was quite wrong. I mean, it still could happen.
It's too late now. It's 2019.
It's very unlikely.
Elections next year.
Yeah.
Why knock him off now?
Yeah, he's more than halfway done.
I pitched this idea a while ago, and everybody's like, well, then you get Mike Pence. I was like, no. Mike Pence is scared now. They're like, well, he's going to make abortion illegal. I'm like, better than making, like, brown people illegal. I don't know. I think if Donald Trump was assassinated or impeached or however he loses power, which I don't think he will, I think he'll fizzle out. And he may even try to run for president again. But yeah, I don't think he's going anywhere. I think he might. It's interesting because I can't remember the president. It's killing me. Anyways, one of them traded his presidency, I think it was Nixon, to not go to jail. Basically, like, okay, if you're not the president, you don't have to go to jail.
Yeah, I think that was Nixon. Yeah.
But I think with Trump, they don't want to let him get away that easily. Like, I think you'd rather just be the laughingstock for another year and then put him in prison where he can't trade his presidency for clemency. But that idea is just mental. This is just me being a conspiracy theorist after a glass of wine in the afternoon.
Yeah.
But that would be great. Donald Jr.'s definitely going to jail.
You think so?
Oh, 10,000%. 10,000%. Like, that whole family, I hope it'll be funny, though, because prisons are privatized. I wouldn't surprise me if Donald's already building his own prison.
Like Pablo Escobar.
Right? He's like, build the wall, close the government. Meanwhile, dude's like on the phone with the Russians, building a government that's sanctioned as like a Russian ambassadorial place. And he's like, yep, I'll go to jail at my jail. That's technically kind of Russia in America. I set that up.
Right.
Yeah, they say now, though, that it's like basically 100% like Trump colluded with the Russians.
Yeah, I saw that.
He committed treason. There is no other...
So why hasn't he been impeached yet?
This is what I don't understand. And I think that the government shutdown and all this other news is probably a distraction.
Right.
To that idea. Like, people stop talking about why hasn't he been impeached, because they care a lot more about why people aren't getting paid and why their neighbors aren't getting a paycheck.
It's almost like someone's strategically releasing all these counter news articles against him, so they're not focusing on him as much.
Yeah, even though he is, like, again, clearly committed treason.
Yeah.
You know, and it's interesting now that I'm thinking about this, because it's basically like the 3 weeks that the government's been closed, I haven't been seeing as much crazy shit about all the missing records and him paying staff to not tell anybody about his conversations with Russians. Like, all that's kind of dust under the rug right now.
Right.
Interesting. Media distraction. I think we talked about the power of media in the food guide, right? You care about what you're being shown and you listen to it. Mm-hmm. Milk's not good for you.
They did the same thing with the government did this. No research whatsoever. They started telling people that fat was bad for you. Low-fat diets should be all you eat. Really healthy. They did this to promote the agriculture business because it was going under. And they created this. That was what the original food guide was based on, was to save the agricultural industry. And it's just come out in the last few years that was all complete bullshit. That they didn't do any studies on if low-fat was healthy for you or not. They just put all the stickers on it. Got the Heart Foundation to sponsor it. And now it's coming out that fat actually may be good for you, particular fats, and that low-fat diet has caused most of the obesity in North America.
Collusion at the highest level.
Yeah.
It's like the people in the government own the farms, and the people in the farms and the government own the authorizing agencies, and all of it work together for their personal interest.
Exactly, yeah.
Seems like that's kind of the way governments work. I don't know. I don't really trust mine. I don't really trust the world government, United States, anybody. Seems like everybody has a personal interest. I was very astounded at the start of legalization when I made a comment to a friend about, I don't remember how the conversation started, and he said, look how many people in the Liberal government have personal interest or are on the board of directors of cannabis companies.
Right. Yeah, good point.
Astounding. To me, as I scrolled through that list, it felt like 65 or 70% of the Liberal government was personally invested or on a board of directors.
Right.
And I was like, holy crap, how can like the minister of this and yada yada that be an advisor to Canopy and Tweed?
Illegal.
It seems like deep collusion. And then you start to realize, I started to realize like, maybe this is why there was only so many people on day one. Monopolization of alcohol happened at the end of Prohibition in Canada. It happened in America. One of my favorite stories. So Teddy Roosevelt tells his dad he's going to end alcohol prohibition. So his dad gets on a boat and he goes to the United Kingdom and he cuts a deal with Beefeater Gin to be the importer for Beefeater.
Oh, wow.
Is it Beefeater? Yeah, I think it's Beefeater Hendrix. Anyways, Tanqueray, one of the bigger ones. And so he goes back to America. He knows literally the date Prohibition's ending because he has the inside information, and he sends an entire shipping freight of booze that literally lands in America the day alcohol prohibition ends. And it's like the best insider trading because through his son running the government, he monopolized the alcohol market.
Right. Crazy.
I'm pretty sure it's still that family has a distribution agency in the United States and is one of the big players.
Yeah.
But I just see that I saw an exact parallel between that and cannabis when I became keen to how many people in the government were in that biz.
Well, it makes sense. There's a lot of money at stake and people want to capitalize on that.
It's the green rush.
Yeah.
If you're not in it, you're out of it. Like, it's a great opportunity to expand your personal chef business. Like, that's how we met, was talking about doing fine dining cannabis dinners and how we can normalize it for people. But at the end of the day, it's also an entrepreneurial venture. Mm-hmm. How do we make more money doing what we enjoy?
Right.
And that's by introducing another element to the dining experience. A dinner without wine only costs so much. A dinner with wine makes you a little bit more money. And once you do cannabis, it's the same deal.
Yeah, exactly.
which is exciting. I'm excited for the new world, the green rush, the opportunity it's presented.
There's so much opportunity, and with edibles market coming out in October, I think that's just gonna be huge. I can't wait to see what all the products come out are. It's really exciting.
Have you thought? I know you've thought about the company. Have you thought about distribution of your edible? Like, how's that going to work?
We haven't dwelled too far into that.
We'll talk later.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Okay. Cool.
I gotcha. Okay. Well, on that note, why don't you give some parting words for everybody listening, and then let them know where they can find you too.
Sure. As an ending note, I'd probably say just eat your veggies.
Word.
Vegetables, I think, are going to be a huge trend moving forward in the industry, and you're going to see a lot more vegetable-focused restaurants like 10 Foot Henry, I think, popping up. So look out for that, and that's kind of what my food is too. And you can find me probably on Instagram's best at Alex Edmonson, Edmonson. And then my website is just alexedmonson.com, and my company is AE Chef Services, or Alex Edmonson Chef Services.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here, Chef.
Thanks for having me.
I really appreciated your time, your insight. It was great chatting with you.
Likewise.
I look forward to us crushing a dinner together.
Sounds great.
Awesome. Cheers. Thanks again.
Thanks.